Hey y'all, come on in, come on in, come on in. Today we are going to make some garlic yeast bread. Now with that being said, I will be using garlic powder. I'll be putting in some chives, fresh chives, and I will be putting some minced garlic. But we're going to make yeast bread, but it's going to be actual rolls. Because behind me, I have that chicken stew going. And so we're going to make the bread to go with that. So come on down here and let's get this started. So as you can see, I have 1 1/3 cups of warm water. To that, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of yeast, dry active yeast. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of honey. And the reason why you want your honey with your yeast is the honey makes the yeast grow. So I'm going to take my little whisk and I'm going to whisk that up. I'm going to set that aside for 10 minutes. Now, with that being said, with this, we have 3 cups of flour that is sifted. I always sift my flour. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. Never mix your salt with your yeast. And then I'm going to add about 2.5 teaspoons of garlic. You're also going to need 1 egg that is room temperature. Now, I didn't set out my egg to be room temperature, so I did put my egg in a cup of hot water. So I have some chopped chives here that I need to use out. They smell so good. And I'm just going to add that to that. I don't know. There might be a tablespoon in there. I'm not sure. But we're going to make it work. Why? Because we a hillbilly. We can always make it work. So we're going to do this. I'm going to mix this up. And I'm going to put... Now, before I was so rudely interrupted by Miss Sophia, we have garlic, chives, we have salt, and 3 cups of flour in this bowl. Now, there's probably about a tablespoon of chives in here, a tablespoon of garlic, well, half a tablespoon of garlic, and then 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3 cups of flour. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just sifting that with the hand, which means I'm just putting air into the flour. Now for this day, today, I will be using my stand mixer, which is right here that y'all can see, right there. So after my yeast proofs, and what that means is it gets a foam on top of it, which takes approximately 10 minutes. We'll pour that into this bowl and add this flour nice and gently. Well, nice and easy, because if you don't watch it, your flour goes all over the kitchen and you have a big mess. Now, as you can see, my yeast has proofed, which means it has a little foam on the top of it. So we're going to pour this in here. Make sure you have a spatula with you, because I'm having to look for one. There's one. Because you're going to have to wipe down the sides of your mixer. And I got lucky. My husband got me this mixer for Christmas. And this thing has become a very, very big staple in my kitchen. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to put half in here. I'm going to put my mixer head down. I'm just going to turn it on low. Don't turn on too high because you'll make all of that go everywhere. And I'm just going to let this get mixed in. It don't take long for it to get mixed in. But you will have to wipe down the sides of this bowl a couple of times. Now, usually if I do yeast bread by hand, it takes me approximately 20 minutes just for kneading alone. So I'm going to add the rest of that in there. And I made a mess. So I'm going to wipe this. Ah, I got it locked. I need to get that off that. I tried to play cool, but guess what? It's messy. And for those who want to know if my hands are clean, no. Why would you wash your hands in the kitchen? Idiots. I seriously see people, are your hands clean? No, I washed them before I peed. Insert joke here. So I'm going to turn on low again. And I'm going to let that get beat in together until it starts to form a ball. Guess who forgot to incorporate an egg? This girl. So we're going to turn that back on again to let that egg get incorporated. This doesn't take long at all. The longest part about making yeast bread, or most breads, is the waiting. The time for it to rise, because it takes an hour to rise. You punch it down, then it takes another hour to rise again. You want it to rise twice. However, after the first time that you punch it down, if you want to make yeast rolls for your freezer, you can tear off little balls, put them on a cookie sheet, put them in your freezer, and let them freeze, and then place them in a baggie, and they're good in there for 3 months, maybe longer. I've never had them last that long. So, we are just letting this get incorporated, and then we will be right. So on a floured surface, you're going to pull that dough out. Now, this recipe does say 3½ cups of flour. Now, usually, it only takes 3. But because of the heat in my kitchen, it took that extra ½ cup. So you just want to pull that out. And you just want to, where's my, here it is. So we don't need that anymore. Now what we're going to do is we're going to knead this a couple times by hand. Put flour on top of it, push it down, and then come in from the sides. You might need more flour, you never know. So, I didn't put enough flour down, that's why it's sticking. Oh, this bread's going to be the death of me. No, really, bread's bad for you. Don't eat much of it. So, there we go. So we're just going to knead this a couple times until your dough comes out really soft and smooth. What that means is it's not sticking anymore to your surface. You can make a ball out of it. So, and that's what I'm going to do. Now in my bowl over here, I have some oil. I have an oiled bowl. I'm going to take my bread. I'm just going to drop it in there. I'm going to grab some more oil. Grab a little bit more oil. Just a little bit. Don't want too much. And just rub the top of that bread. Now I do use avocado oil. That's all I usually cook with. Now if I'm deep frying, I use peanut or canola. So we're going to take this, set it aside, and let it rest for 1 hour, and we'll be back. I forgot, you need to grab a tea towel, and you want to cover your bread. Clean up your surface as you go, and you won't have a big mess. And we're back. It's been 1 hour. So your bread should look like this. It has doubled in size. And you can see my beautiful, beautiful bread. So, out on a surface, you're going to want to put some flour. Just enough to do whatever you're getting to do. I say that because sometimes it takes more flour, sometimes it takes less. Dump your bread out, and it came out that smooth. So we're going to do what they call a punch down to this bread. So if you've never made bread before, it has to rise twice. Now, if you were making freezer bread to put in your freezer, you would just not do this. You would punch it down, but once it's finished, you don't make it rise a second time. Because if you're putting in the freezer, when you pull it out of your freezer to make that day, you're going to want it to set and rise for an hour. And that's what I call a punch down. So in this pan, I have sprayed some avocado oil, and I'm just going to lightly make sure that is around all my grooves, my nooks and crannies. And now we're ready to pull this bread. So what I do is I grab that bread, just like that, pinch it off, and you got a bowl. Now, I like my bread to be close together because I want it to rise high. So you just squeeze it between your thumb and your index finger. Squeeze that off. And boom, she's done. Now, some people might say, oh, you're making them too big. Honey, I make them the way I like them. If you don't like your bread, like this, then don't make it like this. Make it smaller. But I make it the way I like it. And the way Mr. D likes it. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So I just pull it over. Squeeze between your thumb and your index finger, push up, and there's your roll. Do the same thing. Flip it. Get some more flour out because that's getting sticky. Pull it up between that thumb and that index finger. And you can just roll it over to make it look pretty on top. Now, some people are going to be like, oh, you should have got more than that out of it. Well, maybe, maybe not. It just depends. And this is the last one, and I call this the ugly one, because I just want to flip it over, pinch it on the bottom, and I'm going to place her right here. So that's what we do there. And we cover it again and wait 1 hour. And then it will be ready to put in the oven. So now we're back at the rolls. It's been 1 hour that they have risen. And this is what they look like. Aren't they pretty? So I'm just going to make a couple little cuts on them. These are big enough to be a hamburger buns, y'all. So now we put these in the oven at 350 for 30 to 40 minutes. It depends on your oven. Now my oven will cook these in about 30 to 35 minutes. And then we'll be back to make Mr. D taste them. So our rolls are done. So what I did is I got some butter on my paper towel. And I'm just going over the top a little bit to give it a little bit of shine. Not only that, it helps it to be softer. So today we made these rolls. They are garlic chive rolls, homemade. And we made some chicken stew. I call it stew because it's a thicker version than a soup would be. So we're waiting for Mr. D.
Okay, I'm just looking for a spoon here.
And once he gets himself a metal spoon, he will be ready to taste this. So, we have the spoon. We'll give him a roll. And then he'll be ready to taste. So taste the soup first, and we'll get a roll out.
Okay.
The rolls are still going to be hot.
Oh man, that's good. This is going to be awesome.
Now I am cutting these rolls because they're thick, hot. That's what the inside looks like with the chives and the garlic. So there you go, Mr. D. A roll itself would feed us up, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, they smell good. They look awesome. Ooh, it's good.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's great.
So at the end of the day, Mr. D likes it. That's all that matters. It has been an all-day event, so this will be put out in 2 different videos.
Yeah, it's delicious.
We're very happy the way it came out. So y'all have a great day. Remember, always say your prayers and pray for one another. Even pray for your enemies. Above all else, be humble. And on that note,
we'll catch you in the next one.
Always put God first. Bye.